today. They say it's peace, but the pockets still cry. Yes, the leaders are smiling, the streets are complaining, and the price of bread just flew away. Hey, hey, wake up, Zimbabwe.
Ladies and gentlemen, gather around. Your president has spoken. Yes, Emmerson Mnangagwa has just announced to the world that Zimbabwe has cut poverty by almost half. You heard that right. Not half the cabinet, not half the fuel queues, but half the poverty. Somewhere between 1995 and 2019, while you were calculating how to stretch a loaf of bread into breakfast and supper, the president was apparently keeping count and decided that 62% of Zimbabweans are now only 38.3% poor. Incredible progress, on paper at least, because in real life, the only thing being halved in Zimbabwe is hope. Mnangagwa was addressing the World Summit for Social Development in Doha, a fancy event where presidents go to pretend their citizens are happy. And there he was, smiling proudly, saying Zimbabwe has achieved one of Africa's most remarkable poverty reductions. Meanwhile, the average Zimbabwean is performing daily arithmetic just to survive. One Zupco ride here, one meal there, and the power cuts in between to remind you that poverty isn't just an income problem. It's a national lifestyle. According to the president, primary school enrollment is at 88%, adult literacy at 93.6%, and life expectancy now floating around 64.7%. Which is funny, because most people spend half those years waiting for jobs that never come, and the other half queuing for passports to live. But who needs facts when you've got Vision 2030? The dream that refuses to die no matter how many times the economy does. Mnangagwa boasted about smart agriculture, feeding the nation, and bumper harvests that nobody else has ever seen except on ZBC TV. He even claimed we are now exporting wheat, which, if true, must be happening through invisible borders because our shelves are still filled with imported flour from South Africa. But hey, in the land of slogans, you don't need food security, you just need statistical confidence. Then came the dramatic twist, sanctions. The president, as always, said progress is being blocked by those evil Western sanctions. Because, of course, the reason potholes aren't fixed and nurses are underpaid must be because Joe Biden or Donald Trump froze someone else's offshore account in Dubai. If only the IMF could unfreeze our sense of responsibility. To his credit, Mnangagwa did call for reform of global financial systems and fair access to development finance. But asking the world to trust Zimbabwe with more money is like asking your ex for a loan after you ghosted them for years. Awkward and unconvincing. Especially when the same re-engagement policy keeps meaning, please forget what we did last time. And while the president was busy halving poverty in his head, Harare City Council decided to double your bills in real life. The city's new $690.8 million budget promises infrastructure renewal, a beautiful phrase that really means we'll fix potholes after we fix our pockets. Water tariffs will jump by 61% in high-density areas and 188% in low-density suburbs. In other words, poor people will pay more for no water, and rich people will pay more to water their lawns with imported borehole pumps. Residents groups are furious, calling the budget unrealistic because it's hard to take the city seriously when it hasn't produced an audited financial statement since 2021. That's right, the last time Harare's books were checked, the local currency was still pretending to be strong and you could buy a chicken without a calculator. Precious Shumba from the Harare Residents Trust summed it up perfectly. The city council can't even give people clean water but wants to charge them like they are bathing in Evian. Combined Harare Residents Association added that Johannesburg's water costs less than Harare's proposed tariffs. And Joburg water actually comes out of taps, not bores with frogs. While politicians were hallucinating about prosperity and mayors were doing the maths gymnastics, nature had its own message. Brace for it. The Meteorological Services Department has warned of an abnormally hot start to the rainy season, which could delay planting and roast anyone still believing in smart agriculture. Director Rebecca Manzou sounded confident, but Zimbabweans know what above normal rainfall means. Floods where it's not needed, drought where it's needed, and the government aid arriving 3 seasons late. Meanwhile, an extraordinary story emerged. Rosalie Chigariro, the first black Zimbabwean to donate her body to medical science, was finally laid to rest after 4 years of serving as a silent teacher at the University of Zimbabwe. A rare moment of selflessness in a country where most people die without ever receiving proper medical care. Her gift of body donation was both scientific and spiritual, a stark reminder that real legacy isn't about cutting ribbons or announcing poverty reductions. It's about giving life to others through truth and service. A national hero without medals. Then came the bizarre. 2 children abducted in Chinhoyi while their mother attended an apostolic gathering expecting Whitney to show up. The kids were later found tied to a tree, unharmed but traumatized. It's tragic. Even faith gatherings now come with crime subplots. But one must wonder, why was Whitney the expected guest? To dish out some money? Does salvation now require a sponsorship deal? Maybe the next gospel conference will come with car giveaways and tenders for tithe receipts. And as if that wasn't strange enough, a Harare man dragged his wife to court for calling him barren for 16 years. The wife admitted it, even claimed she saw worms coming out of his manhood. Zimbabwean courtrooms, ladies and gentlemen, where biology meets witchcraft and marriage meets boxing. The magistrate wisely advised counseling. The rest of us advise running. Over in South Africa, the High Court in Johannesburg finally told Operation Dudula to sit down and stop playing immigration police in hospitals and schools. The court ruled their xenophobic harassment unlawful. Translation: you can't demand passports at maternity wards. SERI, the rights group behind the case, celebrated the ruling, though Dudula members outside the court said they would do what needs to be done, which in Dudula language means ignore the law, blame the foreigner. Meanwhile, in Malawi, post-election chaos in Tanzania has blocked over 100 fuel tankers at the border, forcing Lilongwe to import fuel from Zimbabwe and Mozambique. Yes, you heard correctly. Malawi is getting fuel from Zimbabwe. That's like borrowing sugar from a neighbor who has already run out of tea. If there is a clearer definition of desperation, it hasn't been invented yet. And as the region bends, African leaders like Chiwenga and Hichilema still attended the Tanzanian dictator's inauguration, while people like Mnangagwa cheered from the sidelines, drawing outrage from activists like Linda Masarira, who called it an endorsement of tyranny. Chamisa too blasted the AU and SADC for slipping through Africa's democracy crisis. Indeed, SADC silence is deafening. From Zimbabwe's sham elections to Tanzania's massacres, they nod, they smile, they issue communiques, and then they vanish until the next crisis. Africa's leaders love the word solidarity, but they never specify with whom. Globally, Nigeria is on edge after Trump threatened military action if Christian killings continue. Guinea's coup leader decided democracy is overrated and joined the presidential race himself. Putin wants to mine rare earths. Xi Jinping wants to deepen ties with Russia. And David Beckham just got knighted, proving that at least somewhere in the world, hard work still gets recognized instead of loyalty oaths and slogan repetition. Back home in sport, a sad headline. Veteran cricketer Sean Williams has entered rehab for drug addiction. Zimbabwe cricket cut ties citing disciplinary issues, but at least they acknowledged his legacy. It's a sobering moment, a reminder that our athletes, like our politicians, sometimes need more healing than headlines. So, to sum it up, the president dreams of halving poverty. The city dreams of doubling tariffs. The church dreams of miracles. And the people dream of escape. Reality still under construction. But don't worry, Vision 2030 will fix everything by 2050. This is Zimwaves TV, where we don't halve the truth. We multiply it by sarcasm, wit, and humor. Hit that subscribe button because laughter is the only subsidy still available in Zimbabwe.